A local murder trial makes international headlines. An Irish businessman allegedly killed by his wife and her father. The Corbett case in Davidson County is now in the hands of a jury. Molly Corbett and her father, Thomas Martens, are accused of murdering Molly's husband, Jason Corbett, in 2015. The case is getting a lot of attention, with many questions coming from Jason's home country of Ireland. WFMY News 2's Erica Stapleton has been following the case in court. And Erica, the jury has been deliberating for close to 2 hours now.
Yes, Julie, they've been deliberating for a few hours now. They went in there around 3:20, and now they're still trying to figure this all out for themselves, leaving the rest of us playing a waiting game. Now, we are not allowed to take any photography of any kind inside the courtroom, but we have seen Molly Corbett and Thomas Martens walking outside. They're never looking at the camera. They're always expressionless in their faces. And in court earlier, during closing arguments, they looked very alert as their attorneys pushed their point, saying they acted in self-defense that night, trying to poke holes in the state's evidence, like why weren't there any pictures of Molly or Thomas at the scene, or what could those have shown? So the state is telling the jury that they are not holding back any evidence. The blood spatter, the testimony should speak for itself. The state says Jason's death was overkill and hopes the jury sees it the same way. Again, they have been in there for several hours now deliberating. The judge says he doesn't plan to keep them too much longer than 5, so it's unlikely we will see a verdict tonight. But again, that could be one of 3 things for a verdict. It could be second-degree murder. That is what both Molly and Thomas are charged with, or they could be found guilty of manslaughter, which is a lesser charge if the jury finds that the case does not weigh up to a second-degree murder charge, or they could be found not guilty. All the same, the jury will have to have a unanimous decision for anything it comes to.